Because I actually.
What the is this?
Bucky.
What's good, Tommy? How you doing, man?
What's good, Tommy?
Doing good. Andrew, how we doing, buddy?
I'm not bad, sir. You?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm in the airport. I was going to take my shirt off so I could step up to you, but
take your shirt off right now.
What is
I can't do it,
this?
dude. I'm in the airport. I don't want to get.
Where are you flying?
I'm going home. I'm in New York City right now. I'm going back to Oregon.
Unfortunate.
So yeah. So Andrew, he's a big fan of you.
This is like a middle school.
I am the oldest pro Fortnite player, indeed. And dude, I have nothing personal against you,
He's wearing a Britney Spears T-shirt that matches his
hair.
hair.
Your philosophy, I don't think you're. I think you're a water boy. Water boy for patriarchy and capitalism and whatnot.
What the
right? And sort of regressive ideas about manhood. And which is why the teenage audience like consumes it so much, you know? You got these young boys that are like grappling with feelings of powerlessness, and you come in and offer them like the ultimate machismo ideas of like how to be a man, but you're so off base, bro. It's like it's
How is
tragic.
He gonna say that he's wearing pink hair?
So you think that I am inspiring the youth of today, the masculine youth of today, to become men, and you think that's a negative thing? Why?
No, I don't think you're inspiring them to become men, because like real men are in touch with their emotions and their vulnerability and don't need to be like wielding and taking power. Real men are self-aware, and
this is
you
not
come
Hassan,
in
you
offering
idiots.
them like somebody that they can follow, where you want to be like the savior, the guy, the badass.
If you're a man who's in touch with his strength and his masculine power, why does that mean you're not capable of reflecting inwards and being self-aware? They're not mutually exclusive.
Well, apparently for you they are, though, because on the one hand you talk about how you made your first million while exploiting women on webcams.
Incorrect.
And then you post on the Instagram post about how you and your brother are going to bring purity back to women. So yeah, you absolutely lack self-awareness, because you yourself admit you made your initial money on sort of like you profited off the supposed impurity of women around sex.
All right. So first thing, the word exploiting is an incorrect use of language, because I've never exploited anyone in my life.
Well, let me ask you this. When you made your first million with the women in the webcams, how many of the women who are on those webcams earning for you, how many of them are millionaires now?
The ones who made millions are also millionaires. It was 50% each. It was 50-50.
You know what I'm saying?
I would argue the point here, sir. I would argue the point here that when a girl worked for me, it was 50-50. If you work for nearly any other business in the world, you do not get 50% of the takings. If you go work at McDonald's and you ring up a register for an hour, you do not get 50% of that register. So that is a lie. Most companies pay you less than 1%. So to sit here and say that I was exploiting people is absolute fallacy. So that's the first thing.
It's like...
So that's the first fallacy. I've let you talk. Now it's my turn. That's the first fallacy. The second fallacy is this whole patriarchy bullshit you're saying that are outdated ideas of masculinity.
Yeah.
The idea of patriarchy is not an outdated idea of masculinity. Perhaps in the West, in a declining empire, as we've already discussed on this stream, in an empire which is in absolute decline, you can have men who sit here and think there's absolutely nothing necessary about masculinity in the modern world, and that you don't need to be strong or brave or any of these things. You can sit around and cry and you're still a man. That is not true in most places on the planet. In most places on the planet, men need to be capable and competent, because if they don't, they do not survive. And I'll tell you something now, sir. I'll tell you something else now. You will sit here and talk right now about the patriarchy and how you can be in touch with your feelings and all this bullshit. The second you're physically assaulted or physically threatened, the first thing you do is you call a toxically masculine police officer to turn up with a weapon to protect you, because you cannot protect yourself. You are not against the idea of masculine power. You're not against the idea of men who have masculine imperatives to defense. All you've done is outsource it to someone else to do at the end of a phone call because you're too scared to do it yourself. So you're fucking lying. You're lying.
No,
you don't want to do them yourself, and you hope everyone else does them for you, so you can sit around and play fucking video games.
See, the point I posit is there's more than just physicality. And you talk about exploitation. You absolutely exploit people with your affiliate links. That is exploitation. Like I, as well as Bucky and Clicks, know, anybody who's an influencer knows that affiliate links are total bullshit, because basically you give an affiliate link to somebody who promotes you, and he makes a little money off of it, but you're getting free advertising.
Do you guys think Andrew Tate's an actual bad person?
No influencer is going to take an affiliate link position, because it's absolute exploitation. Like you practically exist on it. Now, the idea the idea of manhood is you can talk about like purely physical strength. Like, first off, if I get assaulted, I'm probably not going to call the police, okay? Because the police aren't actually very adept at actually solving crimes,
this is getting
right?
to a crazy
They don't function very well in the actual solution of crimes. They show up later and just sort of muck up the business.
Correct.
Right?
So I agree with that. So how would you defend yourself in the effect of an assault? You just lay there and take it?
Well, so it would depend on the assault. I would probably remove myself from the situation, right?
Obviously, that's not something that's going to be applicable to the scenario we're doing here on the stream. We're not going to pretend you can run away because that just defeats the point of the question.
Well, what are we here to talk about some hypothetical assault?
No, we're not here to talk about
99% of Americans never even encounter a violent crime.
We're not here to talk about
hypothetical assault. Thing is like nonsense.
We're
not here to talk about hypothetical assaults. We're here to talk about the hypothetical paradigms and ideas around masculinity, because you started this conversation saying that the patriarchy and capitalism and all this bullshit. And I'm sitting here saying to you, live in a very soft society. You're completely correct. 99%
incorrect.
You live in a soft society. If you were the same person in most places on the planet, you would have had your ass beat because you are a weakling. And weaklings are not. Let me tell you something, my friend. I'll let you talk afterwards. Never in human history, in any single civilization, in any single empire across the history of Earth, have men been celebrated for their weakness. Ever once. It doesn't matter if you were an Aztec or the Mao dynasty, from China all the way to South America. In every single history book you can read, men who were respected and men who had stories written about them were written about them because they were strong. Weak men have never been respected. Weak men have never mattered. For you to come along and say, I think it's okay to be weak, is fine. That is your initiative. That is your decision. But the reason you have done that is because you lack brave. You lack balls.
No,
you lack bravery.
Lack balls. Dude, I have more balls than you'll ever have, boss. Because you're changing the goalpost here, because you're the one who's sitting here calling emotional strength and emotional vulnerability. You're defining it as weakness. But it's not.
All forms of strength are important. You're saying
it's not.
Yes, it is. Physical strength is just as important as emotional strength.
It is.
Emotional strength is actually more powerful than physical strength. Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how physically strong you are, somebody bigger could come along and beat your ass. But it's emotional strength that helps you survive the ass beating.
You're right.
He's not wrong. I'm not gonna lie. That's not an L take. Don't even lie.
So when someone comes along to assault you, you won't call the police afterwards and you won't fight back. You'll lay in a ball, you get an ass kicking, but you're emotionally strong enough to just deal with the fact that you got an ass whooping in front of everyone. You're weak. And that's fine, and everyone should be like you. And that, you know what we call?
I'm not saying
people like you are called in most places in the world. People like you are called in most places in the world. They're called victims. We're called prey.
Studs.
You're a prey.
We're called studs.
And let me tell you something. When I inspire men to grow up and be their biggest, strongest version of themselves, emotionally, mentally, physically, in every single realm, that is not a negative thing. There's nothing wrong with a man being big and strong. And let me tell you one more thing. We're sitting here talking to professional video game players. You're a professional Fortnite player yourself.
I am.
I don't know how the game works. I've never played the game.
And I was a professional musician and a director. I've done a great many things.
Perfect. Good. And you're obviously a successful, smart individual. You're obviously mentally intelligent, right? I'm not talking about. I'm not saying that just because someone's strong that they don't have to be mentally adept. I'm not saying that somebody doesn't have to be emotionally adept just because they're strong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that physical strength is also an important thing. But let's look at the video game Fortnite, which I've never played. It might be incorrect. But if you have stats on your character, you're going to try and max out your strength character. You're not going to have a character which is weak. Every single person, if they're given a video game character and said choose what statistics you want, is going to click max strength every single time, and then they're going to go back into the real world and pretend strength doesn't matter. Strength does matter. The difference is in the real world, hard to achieve, and because it's hard to obtain, it's the ostrich problem. You don't want to accept that it's hard to do. You don't want to go through the pain to get it, so you want to pretend it doesn't matter. Just because you don't want to go through the bullshit it requires to be a physically dangerous individual does not mean physical dangerous individuals are not respected by society. And I'll tell you one more thing, my friend. One more thing.
Right.
If me and you were to stand side by side in front of 100 women, in front of 100 fucking police officers, 100 fucking enemies who want to kill us, whatever it is, they would all choose to fuck with you before they choose to fuck with me. Because they'd look at me and I have a certain status and a certain presence which comes from my physical stature. Not just because of my capability, but because of the things I've gone through to become this physical specimen of man. They know I'm not the kind of guy who you really want to mess with. They look at you and go, he is a victim. Because that's what you look like, my friend, and that is your own choice.
See, that's just it, though. The only reason they would choose you in that element is because of the patriarchal fucking male-dominated society.
Here we fucking go. Here we
All right,
go.
all right.
Here's the deal, Andrew.
This is fun. No. I'm not done.
No, because
Name
hey, Andrew, listen to me.
From history that wasn't patriarchal. Name a society from history that was not patriarchal.
See, listen to me, though.
Alaska!
That is why people like yourself are bugging and going into hyper mode right now. Because society's changing. Society is changing.
I'll tell you why, my friend. I'll tell you why we cannot name a single society in history across the entire planet that was not patriarchal. Because patriarchal societies are optimized to survive. When things get difficult, when people are put in survival situations, we naturally revert to our gender roles. I'll tell you something. If we were all on a ship and the ship got shipwrecked, the men would start building and digging and hunting, and the women would start gathering and doing what women are naturally adept at. Because when it comes down to survival, you have to do what you are most competent at. And men are more competent at certain things, and females are more competent at certain things. I'm not saying
not all men. Not all men, and not all females.
There are
many
societies are more competitive than any other type of society because society functions better as a patriarchy. So the reason you cannot name a single society in history that was not a patriarchy is because all of the societies, and I'm sure there were some, which were not patriarchal, were destroyed by patriarchal societies. They were wiped off the face of the planet because they are not competitive.
Fuck this grandpa's awesome!
Books to read. They do not have monuments to find. And the point I'm making is that in the harsh reality of ultra competitiveness, only patriarchal societies can survive. So the reason you cannot name one from history is because all the ones that tried this idea that you're trying to purport were destroyed in real time. And in the West, in America, as we stand right now in America, which I wouldn't even call it a patriarchal society because it isn't, because females have more rights under the law than men.
Oh my God, bro.
They do. And I'm telling you now,
are so clueless.
As America falls apart and the patriarchy is disintegrated, all that's going to happen is that other countries like Russia, like China, like countries which are still patriarchal will remain more competitive than the West, and you're not going to fix the world. America's just going to have a third world shithole. So throwing the fucking patriarchy away to fix a fucking thing. You live in a clown world, my clown world.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I do live in a clown world because there are people like you that are sitting there like pushing this inane philosophy. So yeah, I get it. I accept that. But first off, we haven't seen a non-patriarchal society yet. We're definitely moving toward it. And if you want to look at America and look at some of the problems with America, like what problems do we have? Well, there's an enormous wealth gap. You mentioned the Roman Empire earlier. The Roman Empire didn't fall because of laziness. It fell because of overconfidence, because of an income gap between the richest and the poor, and because of political corruption. All three things that are sort of happening in America right now. So absolutely, America could fall, but it's not because men were turning soft, right? The idea of men being soft, the idea of men being soft, Andrew, is a battle cry of men who see that purely physical stature is no longer the only defining quality. Because like you said, they could line me and you up, and all those brutes like the cops or somebody looking for pure strength would choose you to defend them. But anybody who was from a marginalized group that was looking for an emotional defender, those people would pick me, right? Why? And they wouldn't pick the muscular guy because they know that I have the inner strength to actually have an openness and a vulnerability that can relate to them and that can help them find that empowerment in themselves. I don't want to train people to be cheap.
What the fuck is this Discord?
We go to your Instagram page and you talk about being the Messiah and all this other BS. You want people to follow you like you're some sort of like deity, boss. And that's actually a sign of your own weakness at work, right? That's coming from your own trauma, your own unhealed trauma.
Firstly, the fact you think that you're talking to marginalized people more than me, it doesn't even make sense because I'm talking to groups of people, you're talking to groups of people, and both of them includes marginalized communities. Secondly, the fact that I am actually the fact that I'm actually mixed race, that I grew up in the south side of Chicago with my father.
Absolutely.
Shows I know more about marginalized communities than you do because you are as white as they fucking come and you're talking about a marginalized person.
Absolutely.
I grew up in the trenches.
I never woke up and thought I'm brown, so I had to find this white guy with pink hair to fight for me. I woke up and fought for myself. And that is the point. You don't want to fight for yourself. You fight for yourself when you're a man. That requires all forms of power, whether it be emotional, mental, and physical. You to sit here telling men they should be as weak as possible and sitting around doing fucking nothing is not good for society as a whole. And there's nothing wrong with patriarchal society.
I'm not advocating for weakness, but like I'm advocating for people to heal and to heal their trauma and not use their trauma like you do and then aim it at select groups of people in order to gain power and money, right, and status.
He got them heroin eyes. I'm a demon. Go at him.
I think that all men, if you're a good man, you're going to have a traumatic life. That's part of being a man. And I think
I think it's not even a part of being a man. It's a part of being a human being on the planet. Okay. You're going to have a traumatic life. Sure. Right? But you got to heal the trauma. The trauma doesn't make you unless you heal it. If you don't heal it, you go around, say, dumping it on women.
What the fuck is this?
Right? By waltzing around, talking about how you got to protect women. You got to get a cut of her OnlyFans and all this because you own her private parts. That's nonsense.
Hassan? What is
That's
this?
nonsense. That's your trauma speaking.
It depends how you heal the trauma, right? And when I said that being a trauma is part of being a good man, you said it's part of being a human. I agree, but I think you can be a very, very good woman with a good heart, and you can be a good person. You don't need a traumatic life to be a good woman. However, to be a good man, you need to have a traumatic life because any man who's not had. I'll tell you why. Let me answer. Any man who's not had difficulty, any man who's not gone through something that's difficult is not very good at being a man because when shit hits the fan, people turn to the nearest man in the room and say, what is the solution? Someone just broke in the house, you go to the man. Fucking there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, you go to the man. There's a war, you go to the men. So men who have not been through trauma are not very good at being men because they're not capable of dealing with trauma.
Wait, so pause right there though, Andrew. Because you said when you go to war, you go to the men. But the only reason you have a war is because of men and their lack of awareness about their own feelings. That's why war exists in the first place.
So you're saying
if you had more women leaders, we wouldn't have war.
Okay, so
if we had more women leaders, we wouldn't even have war. Men literally are responsible for war by a lack of emotional awareness. That's how it starts.
Interesting. So let's make this the final point before we move on. You just said that if all the leaders were women, we wouldn't even have war.
I said if we had more women leaders, yes, there would be less war.
The fact that you hate your own gender so much is quite amazing to me. But actually,
I don't hate my own gender.
Another point.
See, why do you
point? Let me tell you why you're wrong.
No, you don't get to gaslight me and tell me I hate my own gender just because I'm displaying a version of manhood that you're uncomfortable looking at. You don't get to say I hate my gender.
I don't give a fuck
that I'm weak because I present a version of manhood that has struggled just like you, that has conquered just like you, but lives outside the idealized patriarchy that was sold to me. You don't get to gaslight me because you're uncomfortable with the type of man that I am.
You love men. You love men. Cool. The point I'm making is you're saying that the world wouldn't have a war.
Dude, you are backed up against the wall.
Wait. No, chill. Let Tate have his final statement, then we're going to wrap this up and get someone else.
I'm in here right now. I just got to fix my camera. One second.
Yeah, you're chilling.
Hassan, let's go, man. I appreciate you.
I'm interested in seeing what the chat thinks. The reason you're totally wrong saying that the world would have less war if there was no female leaders is because if you actually ask anybody who's been in the corporate world for long enough, the companies that have the most arguments, the most difficult corporate structures to deal with, in fact, even if you ask most women, they say, I don't like having a woman boss. I'd rather work for a man. When you have a whole bunch of women in charge, it's nothing but a fucking bitch fest and it's shit show. Every single fucking person who's ever worked in corporate knows that. Every single person who's ever worked in the world knows that women actually, as beautiful as they are, and they're good at lots of different things, they would they would prefer to work for a male boss because it's a stronger, more clear leadership structure. Having a bunch of women in charge of countries is not going to make a fucking peaceful world. And the fact you believe that shows your entire mental model's fucked.
Dude.
I'd like to actually put a poll in the chat and let's see who agrees with you, who agrees with me.
Why will we take a poll in the chat? Of course, teenage boys are going to agree with your hyper-idealized manhood. Like, they need to cling to that.
Okay, do you guys want me to step in on this conversation or
let's go?
I'm just getting this all.
We're not gonna do no 2 versus 1 bullshit. We're gonna wrap it up with Tommy and then you guys can go at it. Or not go at it. But
2 versus 1 bullshit. Yeah, you mean like the Aiden Ross stream when anyway.
Hassan, I just want to say
XQC was getting fucking triple teamed. All right.
I didn't want that.
All right, Tommy.
I'm just a messenger.
Tommy, thank you for coming on. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a safe flight. And I hope you enjoyed your time here.
Dude, I did. Andrew, take care, brother. Hassan, I just want to say props to you, boss. I appreciate you, man, putting the word out there. Thank you, guys.
Good to talk, bro.
Have a good day.
Appreciate you coming on, Tommy. Have a good one, man.
Cheers. Thank you.
Why am I not on this? Am I not fucked with anymore by this guy?
How do you feel about my guy, Tommy?
Sorry, you asking me or
Andrew? Yeah.
I don't know him personally. I have nothing against him personally. He's a new age thinker. He lives in the new think, the idea that the way the world runs and has always run is a bad thing.
You want me to turn off my
chat? And if we change everything from the ground up, it's somehow going to become a magically better place. Obviously, he has no proof or any references for his way of thinking.
Is this a good place for my camera or what?
It's an untested theory. I think that for him to come along and say such blanket statements that if we changed all the world leaders to women, there wouldn't be war is inane and asinine. I think for him to say that a man who's physically strong can't be mentally strong is also stupid. But I also understand why he's saying the ideas he's saying, because he has a natural insecurity based on the fact that he's not a physical specimen of man, and the way he gets around it is to pretend that that's not important, which is fine. Lots of people do it, right? Stupid people saying being smart is not important. Poor people saying being rich is not important. It's a common defense mechanism that everybody does, and I completely understand it. However, most people with a basic grasp of economics and the way societies work would look at society and say, you know what? A society with brave, strong men who are full of honor and duty is actually a better society than men who walk around saying, I have no duty to protect anybody or protect anything, and I can just sit around and cry all day. And this theory is being tested in real time, right? America's quickly turning into the latter, and we can see crime rates going through the roof. We can see all the fucking school shooting, all this stupid shit that's happening because men have no emotional control anymore. And that's what's going to happen. Is the society's going to degrade, and the countries where men still stick to their honor and their age-old expected ways of acting, are there going to be a safer societies overall? So time will prove me right, but I have nothing against the guy. He's fine.
I think Andrew and the previous person that was on the call are just two sides of the same coin. They're both wrong, and they're both kind of right in different ways. But thinking that this has anything to do with gender is silly. All right? It has nothing to do with gender. Women can be just as oppressive and as brutal as men can be.
Agreed.
Ultimately, it has everything to do with capitalism, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the gender. The assumption that women are going to be like hysterical across the board, that kind of generalization.
Is this a good spot shot for my camera? Yes or no?
That's why, Andrew,
I've
seen some of your work as you're doing the rounds on Twitch here. And a lot of the things that you said that you've been called out on, specifically in regards to like women driving, as a matter of fact, are just generally untrue. There's no empirical evidence to back up those claims, which is why you resort to anecdotes quite frequently and say things like, oh, well, it's just common sense, right? But it's not technically common sense. It's just your personal opinion.
Completely. It's my personal opinion based on my personal biases of my life experience. Now, when I say these, exactly. And when I say these things, X amount of people agree with me and X amount of people disagree with me. That's fine, and that's the same of nearly any statement in the world. I can say the world is round, and there'll be a percentage of people who disagree with me. That's totally and utterly fine. I come on here and talk about my own personal experiences, and my experience is men are better drivers than women. I'm not saying there's no good female drivers. I'm not saying a female can't move a car.
No, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. There is a truth, and then there is your own personal experiences backed by anecdotes, right?
Because the truth,
your own personal opinion backed by anecdotes from your own personal experiences. Now, your own personal experiences are oftentimes going to be incorrect and not close to the reality. That's why there's an entire field of statistical analysis. That's why we do empirical. That's why we rely on empirical evidence when we're making decisions. Why? Because we all carry a bunch of personal biases. And when we analyze situations, we do not have enough scope to grasp the entirety of the situation. We cannot comprehend it with our human brains.
Bro, listen, I can comprehend.
Which is why, when it comes to women driving, it's a funny point because the truth is different.
Wait, Mom,
the truth is the exact opposite.
Well, no, but listen. First things first. There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. I'm sure you've heard that from Mark Twain. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you're deriving.
You can massage numbers, but
you're deriving your truth from an internet study. That's fine. You can derive your truth from an internet study on a bunch of different things. The truth of life is the truth that you experience as an individual. That is the only truth that we all live within. You live within your truths, I live within my truths, because these are the truths I've experienced as an individual. If certain things happen to you over and over and over and over and over again, but the truth on the internet says it's not true, that doesn't mean that your experiences are any less real. So if you to come here and say the internet says X, especially after
your experiences can be real, you could be a statistical anomaly, as a matter of fact. You can be one of those people, but more.
I'm not gonna lie, Hassan's just gonna take over this whole stream. What do you guys think?
Talk to you because I keep letting you talk, and you're finishing your point, and I'm trying to talk. So
okay, go ahead.
I'm going to. The fact that you're going on the internet, finding some study and saying that this is the truth, especially after the age of COVID and all the fucking truth we were told with that garbage, you want to sit here and say, oh, the internet said X. I'm sure the internet did. I'm talking about my personal experiences, and some people agree with me and some people do not. That is perfectly fine. Don't give a fuck if people agree with me or otherwise. People are listening to me and they're either agreeing with me or they're not.
But you're still wrong, and that's the problem.
I disagree with you. I'm not wrong.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to keep speaking into a hug box where people agree with you.
Prove to me I'm wrong.
You know, well, if you just completely devalue empirical evidence, actuarial sciences, the entirety of the insurance industry that relies on making these sorts of calculations to ensure that these quotes are as profitable as possible, which ends up charging men higher rates than women, is a statistical likelihood that men are more dangerous drivers than women across the board and get into more car accidents across the board. If you're going to look at all of that and say it doesn't matter because that does not correspond to my own personal experiences, then you're silly. You're being silly. You're being a silly person. If everyone thought like you did, right, we would have no scientific achievements on this planet. We would still be living inside of fucking caves. And now, as much as I love Liver King personally, I don't think that that would be a good planet to live on. I'm pretty happy for, I don't know, all the medical achievements, all the scientific achievements that we have reached. And at the heart of all of that, all of those accomplishments lies an understanding of arriving at the truth through empirical evidence.
Y'all think burgers are better or chicken? Don't lie.
You done?
Yeah. Or
cool.
cow or chicken?
In my personal experiences, all of the car crashes I've been involved in, all the times my car was hit, and all the negative experience I've had on the road, women were at fault. That is, now you can sit here and say the insurance claims say that. I never said the insurance claims don't say that. I'm saying that I am not comfortable with women driving because of my personal experience. Those are my personal experiences. You can drag up all the empirical evidence in the world you want to try and drag up. Anyone with a brain knows how that aids the world agendas anyway. I don't want to go too political on a stream that's going to get taken down. So I'm not saying that I can't find a female race car driver. I'm not saying that all women.
That's not what I'm saying either. Good. I'm not talking about like statistical anomalies. I'm straight up talking about the overwhelming amount of evidence that suggests that women are more careful drivers than men. Okay? And therefore better drivers than men. Now, you keep resorting back to your personal anecdotes. So let me walk you through this, right?
Brother,
do you agree that human beings have biases?
Do me a favor. Okay, I understand.
But hey, I respected your time. Do you want to answer my question? Do you believe that human beings have biases?
Oh, absolutely. We all bias. Completely bias.
Do you think that those biases might cloud your judgment?
It's not about clouding judgments.
Not
just your own personal judgment. Do you think our biases might cloud our personal judgment?
I think every single person on earth is biased and lives within a biased reality.
Absolutely. It's absolutely true. Okay. So if you agree with me on both of those accounts, you understand that your anecdotes, your own personal accumulation of information is going to be clouded by your own personal biases.
Completely.
So you're not going to be able to assess the information adequately in the same way that empirical evidence would. This is precisely why we look at data rather than make arguments around our... Wait, let me finish. Come on.
I understand what you're saying. You're just...
But this is precisely why we do that.
We've went over the same point like 5 times here.
Everyone's saying kick you. You're long-winded the point. You're saying that the empirical evidence is saying X, so it doesn't matter what my personal experience is. That's fine. My point is, let me change it. Let's say that the empirical evidence says that a pit bull is more likely to bite you than a Dalmatian. But in your life experience, every time you went near a Dalmatian, it bit you, and a pit bull never did. Are you going to go up to a Dalmatian still completely and go, oh, it's fine, completely unbiased because the empirical evidence says X when you're covered in scars? No. You're going to say, Dalmatians bite me for some reason, and I'm not comfortable around Dalmatians. That's called human nature. So I'm telling you my personal experiences, and I don't care. I understand your point. Empirical evidence says X. Women in this country can do X. I completely get that. Secondly, it's also country by country because you're only talking about America because you're American and you don't see outside of the world. That's fine.
I'm Turkish, actually. I grew up in Turkey.
That's not the point. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is I'm uncomfortable with a woman driving. And if you actually ask most women, if it gets late at night or it starts getting dark or it starts raining heavily or the parking gets difficult, they usually ask the man to drive themselves. I know many women who do that. They're not offended by my assumption. I know loads of women who go, oh, I don't want to park. You park it. Loads. There's not a bad thing about it. Who gives a shit, right? It's not even a big deal. You've come on here deciding you really want to stick up for the chicks and maybe, one of them will drive over to your house. It's cool. We've got better things to talk about.
Look, let's be real. I don't think I need to be a male feminist to be able to attract women, okay? However, having said that,
my good-looking cheddar now.
Funny implication. Having said that, you are failing to recognize what I am trying to say. I walked you through these steps slowly but surely.
Thank you.
The thing is, the Dalmatian example that you gave is great.
It's true.
Why is it great? Because you are creating
this girl's so bored.
hypothetical scenario in which you want your opponent to concede. I can do the exact same thing and say, well, in my personal experience, Dalmatians never bite, or pit bulls never bite, whichever one you thought was the more aggressive breed, right? In my personal experience, what if in a million times that I have bred pit bulls or been around pit bulls, not a single one of them has ever been aggressive?
Michael
we
Vick,
will never
Monka
be able
W.
to arrive at a meaningful solution or a resolution to this conversation if we're both operating on personal anecdotes and hypotheticals. That's not how you can conduct an appropriate debate.
Good. So now you're saying the thing I just said. I have my own biases, my personal experiences, and I say them. Some people disagree and some people agree, and I don't care. You've now come along. I have my own bias.
You're still wrong, though, because I'm not operating on biases when I talk about women driving.
Oh, brother! I can end this whole conversation.
I personally thought women are worse at driving than men as well. But once you arrive at, once you look at the evidence and you realize that said evidence suggests something else, you're probably not going to continue believing the prior thing that you believed, right?
We went over the same point like 5 times, and I think we're just going to.
I know, but it's just weird because I can't I can't break through Andrew's.
I understand your point. You're saying that even if I thought
here,
we're losing the girl.
No, exactly. I want to talk to her. He's saying even if I thought women were worse drivers, I've seen empirical evidence, and I'm so smart that I ignore my own eyes and ears and believe what the internet tells me. That's what he's come along and said.
That's not what I'm asking you to do, my friend.
I'm sure you're double vaccinated. It all makes sense to me now. You believe what you're told to believe. You don't believe your own eyes. You don't believe your own ears. And that's what you're going to sit here and talk about empirical evidence that you found on Google. Cool. If you believe everything that's on Google, that is your prerogative, my friend. And if you think that makes you sound smart in the modern world after the 3 years we've just been through, to say that I read a piece of paper that tells me to believe X, so I believe X, and I ignore my own personal experiences, and you think that makes you sound...
I'm not asking you to ignore your own personal experiences. I'm simply asking you to look at the data.
So let's change the subject because you've just proven your point completely.
Okay, Andrew, do you believe... Well, you didn't really prove anything, but it's cool.
You guys just disagree
do you believe the Earth is flat, or do you believe the Earth is spherical, round?
The third one, what?
Aldi has his headphones on.
Yeah, I think he's.
Oh, he took his headphones off.
He gets very stressed sometimes, and takes his headphones off.
Yeah, it's cool. It's important, Sometimes you can't take the heat. Sometimes you can't take the heat, so you gotta get out of the kitchen a little bit.
Huh?
Andrew, do you believe the Earth is flat or round? Spherical, globe?
Round. I would probably.
You believe it's round, right? But when you walk outside, it feels like it's flat.
Oh, nah, y'all are weird,
brother. And I
so
respect.
weird.
It looks flat. It feels flat, but you believe it's round. Why do you believe the Earth is round?
Because I have personal experience that would prove to me that the Earth is round.
Oh, you have personal experience. What happened? Did you go up to the fucking moon? Is that how you figured it out?
Exactly. I flew up into space and I looked down on Earth and I saw a big circle.
That's crazy.
Down there.
You don't have to. Hey, listen. You don't have to concede on that point, but I think you and I both understand the importance of scientific.
Who's coming?
The importance of empirical evidence in that one, right? Or
doing all our fun. And
science.
I saw him there, and I thought, wow, this guy, wow, okay, he's gonna ruin the stream. We had a hot chick. Now you're here.
Did you?
Bro,
is that what you thought?
Just chill out. Like I don't want to argue about.
Wait, so what's up? Is it a little bit more difficult when I'm not like the traditional like SJW looking person? Is that why it feels like the stream is a little bit more ruined?
No, it's not difficult. As a professional, I'll tell you the conversation we just had.
Yeah, dude, you've been kicked in the face and stuff. Like, I'm sure you can handle little old me.
Exactly. So I'll tell you as a professional the conversation we just had. I said I am biased and I don't believe women can drive. That's my personal experience. I don't care if anyone agrees. You came along and said, don't interrupt me. You came along and said, no, that's not true because of the evidence. I came and said, I don't care about the evidence, my personal experience. You said, I also have personal experiences and we're all biased. I agreed. Then you said, even if I had personal experiences that said X, I would ignore them because the internet told me to believe Y. I believe what I am told.
That's not what I said.
Then
I said that regardless of my own personal biases that I might have, evidence is still more important than my personal bias.
You guys miss Tommy?
And it's boring, and you've lost, and it's boring. So let's just move on to the next subject because it's one for me.
Is that what happens? You just say I'm boring and I lost, and then you win? Is that what it is?
Do a poll on the chat, and if you won, then we'll continue to talk it. But I'm sure you've lost, and it's boring, and it's one.
Do you want me to leave the conversation that desperately, Andrew? It seems like you're running away a little bit.
We're just going in a never-ending circle. Like we can
move on from that. We can move on from the importance of science and Andrew's personal biases. Andrew, can you tell me a little bit about the Hustlers University, whatever that is? Not in a promotional capacity. I know that like you're doing the rounds on Twitch, and I know that that's probably giving you a big boost. But I want to understand, because you are a businessman. I want to understand how you generate revenue. Is it okay to get this information for free, or do I have to pay $50 and then maybe get an affiliate link and get other people to also join so I can make a 10% cut off of them also joining Hustlers University?
You can find everything on the website, and you can join if you want more information. That's fine.
But you don't want to share this information for free right now. You don't want to educate me on that.
I don't want to sit here and spend the next hour you trying to accuse me of some bullshit.
I'm not. I'm here to learn. Andrew, you are a brilliant mind.
I'm sure as
maybe
smart
a little rattled from the numerous concussions, but brilliant nonetheless. So I want to hear more about your business strategy, if possible.
It's actually quite interesting that people who are too scared to get in the ring try and make fun of people who have bravery to try and make fun of them. Saying,
no, I do think it's very brave. I do think it's very brave.
All right, so let's not detract the bravery of men who do things you're afraid to do. That's the first thing. The second thing.
No. You are absolutely incredibly brave. You still might have CTE, but you are incredibly brave.
CTE? What the fuck is CTE?
I mean, whatever. It's fine. The point I'm trying to make is I know you want to sit here and talk about hate you and try and break it down, and you've prepared a bunch of notes, etc.
I have no notes whatsoever. I'm a dumbass. I don't know anything I'm talking about. I'm simply here to learn from you.
Can we stop with the sarcastic shit and just have an actual conversation?
No, I'm literally, but that's
bro,
the
you're
truth.
being so sarcastic though. Like, why are you being so sarcastic? Like, let's just have a conversation.
I'm literally.
Bro, you just said like 10 things that were sarcastic.
Come on. I'm asking questions.
You're being sarcastic. Like, listen.
Hassan, please. It's pretty clear that I was the better Hassan. So
yeah, that's agreed. I agree with that one.
If you could just get out the call, maybe it would fix the stream.
I think so. It's boring, man.
If you guys would like me to leave the call, I can do that. I don't want to be rude.
Get back to work.
What the fuck am
I do not want to
watching?
Be rude, you know, this is your stream. Andrew, I'd love to talk to you in more detail if you'd like to. I hope that one day you can educate me on your revenue strategies. I mean, it does look a little bad though if you feel as though I should leave the call because you feel like I'm overpowering you a little bit.
You should stay on the call, but I think you should be more socially aware and understand. Oh no,
is that a bad question? Do you not educate thousands of young men about your business strategies? I want to know more.
Okay, I want you to be more socially aware and understand that since you've joined the stream, everyone's begging for you to leave. The vibe's down. It's boring. It's late at night for me. I came here to have fun. You're being boring. No one thinks you're cool. No one thinks you're intelligent. No one thinks you're funny. And you need to
think I'm cool or intelligent. I just have questions and you're not answering them for some reason.
No, I don't have to answer. I don't have to answer your questions. You're not the police. I don't have to answer you anything.
No, not at all. No, I am not the UK police nor the Romanian one. I'm simply asking you questions about your business strategy, which you literally educate people on. I just want to know how you how you do growth and revenue. Why can't I be a hustler? I want to be a hustler like you. I want to be a top G, top bloke, a proper bloke.
Right.
Okay.
You can find out more on the website. I would like the stream to get fun again. If you want to discuss this, we discuss it.
You don't think your educational content is fun for people to consume?
I think everyone's saying kick him. Read the chat. Have you guys read the chat on your stream?
I have the chat closed.
You want me to leave that bad? I'll.
Ron, you're a midget. Personally, I think Ron is stupid.
I'm just a messenger, but you're just.
I always knew Ron was autistic.
I'm literally not.
I don't know if I see what you see, guys.
Tell me that what you were just saying wasn't sarcastic. You can't even convince me that
none of what I have mentioned is sarcastic. I truly would like to know more.
85% kick. 85%. No one thinks you're funny or interesting or witty. Your little comebacks, no one's interested in them. You haven't won anything. HU has got an affiliate.
It's okay, Andrew. If you want, we can have a conversation again.
You can stop talking about me.
Conversation again in the future if you'd like.
It's getting loud.
You're brave enough.
It's getting loud.
HU has an affiliate program for some people if they want to affiliate, like everything else in the world. We have over 100,000 students making more than they invest each month. If they didn't make more than they invest, they wouldn't sign up. One of the most successful online educational platforms in history.
You can always join. Are there multiple layers?
Learn how to make some money yourself if you want to join and have more information. It's all on corporatate.com. You can find out yourself. If you're too cheap to pay $50, then you're a brokey. Nobody gives a shit what you think anyway.
Number 2 out of the stream.
Everyone wants you out of
it.
So either change tune and get with the program and be fun, or keep sitting here and talking sarcastic and really slowly and repeating yourself and talking about how you only believe what you see on the internet because no one really gives a fuck and it's boring. So let's move on to something fun. Let's get the tempo up. I've just told you about HU. We do have an affiliate program. You can find out more on corporatate.com.
Yeah.
What else do you want to know?
It is so it is a multi-level marketing scheme. Got it. I just wanted to figure out if it was truly a pyramid scheme. It would be inappropriate of me to assume that it's a pyramid scheme without having you explain it in such terms. But thank you. All right, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm game.
You're welcome to affiliate anytime you like, friend. It's no problem. All right, so let's move on because this dude he's lame, my friends. Let's get this.
Yeah, Hassan, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna bring in another guest though.
All right, peace,
Son,
boys.
have
fun.
Thank you for coming
Andrew,
on.
I'm always open to talk to you, my friend, if you would like to.
We'll have another conversation.
Thank you, my friend.
Have a good night. Thank you for coming.
Who the fuck is that dude?
Bucky invited him.
And just say, I want to sincerely, I'm sincere.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Please don't beat my ass. I
want to program. You're a scam.
You better go on my Bucky. Just go on to him. It wasn't us. I'm gonna be honest. You guys were speaking a whole different language to me. I had zero clue.
Program.
Who the fuck is that? Don't beat my ass. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I ain't gonna lie. This is kind of dick right now, no? What y'all think?